A top federal prosecutor who Donald Trump was relying on for Trump's most important case has quit the case and likely wants to quit the entire Department of Justice, whether it was because of the pressure or panic or just feeling completely overwhelmed. The individual took a vacation and then said, I am quitting this case. That's right. The rookie federal prosecutor who brought the federal criminal prosecution against James Comey in the district court in North Carolina, accusing James Comey of threatening Donald Trump's life by posting a photo of seashells, has stepped off the case. We have the notice right here of withdrawal from the case. Now comes the United States of America by and through the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of North Carolina, and hereby requests that the undersigned attorney be substituted as counsel for the government and that Matthew Petracca be removed from the court's docket as counsel for the government. Matthew Petracca, the main federal prosecutor in the criminal case against James Comey, has officially quit that case. You see the notice right there. NBC reporting lead rookie federal prosecutor in James Comey's seashell photo case steps aside, and it talks about how Matthew Petracca, who had recently been hired as an assistant United States attorney in the Eastern District of North Carolina, taking on and leading what Donald Trump considered to be his most important and biggest prosecution, the one against James Comey, who lives rent-free in Donald Trump's head, quite literally, with seashells that said 8647. Matthew Petracca is gone. Also, Petracca started dropping out of all of his other cases as well. Dude is spiraling out of control right now. Petracca has dropped off all of his other criminal cases in the Eastern District of North Carolina in recent days, according to other court filings. He was a former Republican county committeeman in New Jersey, whom Eastern District of North Carolina W. Ellis Boyle hired months ago, NBC News reported. Petracca contemplated leaving the Justice Department altogether, according to two people familiar with the matter, but instead he remained a DOJ employee after taking a week off. He needed a week off. You know what this reminds me of? You know that guy Todd Lyons, who used to be the head of ICE, who would have these panic attacks so frequently, they would need to walk around with defibrillators around him. I'm not making that up. They had to walk around with defibrillators because he would have these panic attacks because he was engaged in such heinous and despicable conduct, and these people know how loath they are. Let's look at this vile thing right over here. This is Matthew Petracca. He was the Trump administration's lead prosecutor in the case against former FBI Director James Comey. Again, his most substantial job before this was a seat on the Morris County, New Jersey Board of Taxation. And what he was really known for, though, in law school, apparently, was authoring an essay arguing that this country and many states are too mean to convicted sex offenders. He was arguing that sex offenders should be treated much, much nicer. Well, that seems to make sense why the Trump regime tapped this guy. I'm not making this up. This was his big thesis in law school, his big law review article. You see Matthew Petracca banished New Jersey's municipalities. Unconstitutional trend of banishing sex offenders. And he argues sex offenders should not be banished. They should be treated much better. If you're like, Ben, come on, you're making this up. Let's read what he wrote. Sex offenders are in need of the community's aid and should be rehabilitated and reintegrated instead of being ostracized. Municipalities are encouraged to seek professional advice from those people studying sex offender behavior. The debate should involve treating and preventing sex offenders from recidivism rather than wasting precious time and resources arguing over and enforcing useful ordinances. So the ordinances like keep sex offenders away from schools, keep them away from children, make sure they provide notice when they're in your communities. He said we shouldn't have any of that. Put them in the community. Let's get them right next to the schools. Heck, let's make them teachers. Let's make them as close to your children as possible. He says these ordinances designed to make voters feel safer may actually subject convicted sex offenders to punishment above and beyond their sentences. These ordinances generally restrict sex offenders from living within 2,500 feet of schools, parks, or other places where children gather. Other versions also create brown zones, which restrict offenders from accessing public recreation facilities or even convenience stores for extended period of time. Matthew? Hi. Ben Meiselas here, law professor at USC. Have you lost your damn mind? You wrote a law review article that's pro-sex offender, that argues that sex offenders should be allowed closer to schools? No wonder the Trump regime tapped this guy to go after James Comey for posting an image of seashells on a beach that said 8647, cool shell formation on my beach walk. You see Matthew Petreka's signature right there. As Aaron Frischner explains, the main paragraph in that April 28, 2026 new indictment of James Comey from Matthew Petreka is one of the most embarrassing and humiliating passages of legal text I've ever read. Just to remind y'all, now that Petreka has gone bye-bye, too much pressure for Petreka. Petreka folded under pressure. What a coward. What a coward Petreka is. Loser. Here's what they wrote in count one. On or about May 15, 2025, in Eastern District of North Carolina, the defendant, James Bryan Comey Jr., did knowingly and willfully make a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States. In that, he publicly posted a photograph on the internet social media site Instagram, which depicted seashells arranged in a pattern making out 8647, which a reasonable recipient who is familiar with the circumstances would interpret as a serious expression of an intent to do harm to the President of the United States. Hey, Petreka, I know when you probably filed this, you felt all strong, didn't you? You pressed send, it got filed. There was all the media talking about your 8647 case. Oh, and I'm sure Donald was saying, good job, Petreka. Did that make you feel good? Did that make you feel as good as when you published that law review article advocating that there shouldn't be city ordinances precluding sex offenders to go near schools? Yeah, Petreka. Did that make you feel good? But guess what? After you file a lawsuit, you know what happens? The next day and the next day after that. And I know your type, Petreka. I know people like you who are out of their depth, and I know late at night, I'm sure you couldn't sleep. I'm sure you were sweating. I'm sure you panicked and you called your parents like the little pathetic thing that you are. And now you are gone from this case, Petreka. And you know what the whole world remembers about you, Petreka? What a loser you are. That's your legacy. The biggest loser ever, Petreka, and someone who also did a law review article talking about how our country is too mean to sex offenders. Oh my God, Petreka, what a humiliating legacy you've left for your name, Petreka. Anyway, Ted Lieu goes on to say, I expect this federal prosecutor who resigned to be one of the witnesses when AG Todd Blanche gets disbarred. November is coming. And oh yeah, November is coming. Think about the rulings today. Not only did we learn that Petreka, Trump's top prosecutor on the Comey case, just quit that case, but we also got that ruling out of the Southern District of Florida, where you had the federal judge reopen the case where Donald Trump sued the IRS for $10 billion. And the federal judge, Kathleen Williams, launched an official investigation into whether fraud, criminality, collusion was committed between Donald Trump, the Treasury Department, the Justice Department. This implicates Trump in his personal capacity. Todd Blanche, who signed this, in my opinion, what is an unlawful settlement agreement for $1.8 billion for January 6th insurrectionists and which waive audits of Donald Trump's taxes. This implicates Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and this ain't going away, folks. Think about what else happened just in the past, few hours. A federal judge in Washington, D.C., Judge Amit Mehta, wants the Justice Department to explain why it's asking to dismiss the criminal case against the Oath Keepers who were prosecuted and found guilty of seditious conspiracy. Yeah, Trump's DOJ asked the federal judge, or said, hey, very cavalierly, we're dismissing the case against the Oath Keepers where they were already found guilty and they were convicted and they were sentenced. Donald Trump pardoned them already, but Trump wants to go a step further, dismiss their case so that they become fully vindicated and they become fully not liable for engaging in seditious conspiracy. And federal judge Amit Mehta just issued an order, and he cited a case called United States versus Amadown and says, this is one of these very rare cases where I, as a federal judge, have to inquire further about whether this serves the interest of justice, that you're dismissing a case involving January 6th insurrectionists. You need to respond immediately, Trump DOJ. So we got that. And we got a ruling from a federal judge ordering the Trump regime to remove Trump's name from the Kennedy Center, ruling only that Congress can change the institution's name and directing officials to remove it from the building facade, all physical and digital signage and official materials. The judge also blocked Trump from shuttering the Kennedy Center as well. So loss, major losses for Donald Trump. And Petreka, the main federal prosecutor in the Comey case, quits before Comey had to even do anything at all. There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. There is real momentum for justice right now. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.